first off, I want to thank all you guys for showing up. You know, obviously we had quite a bit of changing conditions and stuff, and it's great to be able to at least see the core group of folks that are able to show up here. We had quite a few cancellations, but that's the way it goes with some of these things, with all of the conditions that we had to deal with. So give you guys all a hats off from myself, just to be able to continue to support us. This being our second Team League event, you know, it's a pilot. We've got one more to go still on the Columbia River in April, and we'll announce the location for that soon. But appreciate all the feedback. I know I've talked to most of you here within the last month or so about kind of feedback from the last event and what we can do a little bit differently going forward. So if there's anything that comes out of today that you think of and you think should be changed, don't hesitate to contact me and let me know. We're still using this as a buffer to kind of figure out how the rest of these events go forward and hopefully grow it into next year to where we can create a championship and everything like that out of it. So you've been a part of the first pilot for this piece of it, and I appreciate it. I also want to thank Darling's Resort, so Rich and Lori Olson. If you see them around, I appreciate them setting up and obviously coming in early, setting up breakfast, allowing us to use their facilities. If you haven't been to Darling's before, now you know where it's at. It's a great place on Siltcoos to be able to come and support too as well. So thank them for all of the work that they've done to set up the docks, get the ramp cleared, just make sure that we're all able to launch out of here. Drain Raider, so Art Ferreira, obviously he's been a co-supporter of the All-Star Bass Fishing, and obviously always continuing to support us. He did have knee surgery recently, so he can't be here, but he's here in spirit and wants to make sure that all of you are supported on the water as well. So I'm going to go through the pairings and the teams real quick before we get into all of the format and the rules. So we drew Team 7, so Corey Ray and Keith Truitt is going to be the first pair out. So again, the way that we do the blast off, you've got one boat that's in Group A and one boat that's in Group B. So we'll go this morning, we'll go boat 7, 8, up to 1, all the way back through, down to 7, and then backwards, right? So we just basically end up in a reverse order. So you have to choose one of your boats that's going to actually end up being in that second group. So don't have both of your boats blast off at the same time. If you're confused on that at all for some reason before we get out there, catch me before we get off the dock here and I'll explain it to you so you make sure you know who you're following. So it's a little bit difficult because of the fact that you don't know which boat is going to be going out of each team, but we'll call them out by numbers. So just listen for your number and you should be able to figure that out. Between the teams, you just need to make sure that you know whether you're in Group A or Group B. So just make sure that if there's any fights in the parking lot on who's going first, you come and grab me and I'll help kind of figure out how to toss a coin or something to make sure you guys are good. So Corey and Keith are Team 7. Team 8 is Ron Six and Luke Van Norman, Mike Lardito and Christy Holenbeck. Team 1, Jake Colber, Michael Zemba, Aubrey Holloway and Jacob Hudgens. Team 2, Kevin Whiting, Joel Barakoff, and Kevin Snelling and Robert Ellis. Team 3, Clint Mesner and Eric Wilson and Kevin Heitzman fishing solo. Team 4, Dwayne Mathis, Chell Helmervik, Mario DiPiero and Dominic DiPiero, the teams with the hardest last names. Team 5, Harry Bingham and Tim Kennedy, David Barnes, Jonathan Key. Team 6, Bubba Brown, Brian Wright, and Walt Postlethwaite, Michael Postlethwaite. And again, back to Team 7. So again, that's when we'll start going the reverse order. So does that make sense to everyone? Does anybody have any questions on that piece of it so far? Okay. All right, so let's get to the format and go through and make sure everybody understands. So we're doing 5 fish per boat. Again, remember, it's a team format, so it's 10 fish total at the end of the day that does, determines what our prizes are going to be. But it's 5 fish per boat, so you can't transfer fish between boats. You still need to make sure that each boat continues to have their 5 fish limit. We do have a rule that we're putting into effect, and I put it out there, but I'll explain it a little bit. So between 11:30 and 12, and I'll use the team that has 3 people, for example. So Clint Mesner and Kevin Heitzman are both the boaters. Having one non-boater between 11:30 and 12, if you do want to make a substitution, you want to take a non-boater from one boat to another, at 11:30 you need to come back to these docks here. No matter where you're at, make sure you come back to these docks. I'll be out there and you can do an exchange, a substitution of your non-boaters. If you've got 4 people in your boat, you can still do the same thing. If you just want to be able to swap your non-boaters, you can do that. boaters can't swap boats, so you can't take a boater from one and jump into another and then leave your two non-boaters to kind of figure things out. I know most people here know how to operate boats, but for safety and liability and insurance reasons, the boaters that have control of their own boat, we want to keep it that way. So we'll get feedback from that. If anybody takes advantage of it, great. If not, like I said, it's a pilot, so we want to make sure. It's come up in the last 2 tournaments. I've had several people ask for this. Sometimes it's a matter of just family members wanting to fish half a day with the family member and that kind of thing. So we're going to try it out, see if it works, and then if we'll continue on implementing that in the future or not. So payouts this morning. So obviously with the drop in participation, I ended up going and getting a little bit creative to still pay out 3 spots. So first place is going to be $1,500. Second place will be $800, and then third place will be some all-star packs that I'm putting together. Big bass is $200 for the first big bass, and then the second big bass we're going to actually have another all-star pack. So between the teams, just make sure that you coordinate and you understand if the big bass is going to be paid out to the individual on your team that gets it, or if your team is going to distribute it between the teams. So make sure that before you hit the water, that's all settled so that there's no conflicts at the end of the day.
Can one team have 2 big bass if they come from separate boats?
Yes. Yeah. So if big bass 1, big bass 2, now each boat doesn't necessarily, you only get to weigh 1 big bass, but because you have 2 boats, you could end up with both prizes. Yeah. Good question. Live well check. So I'm going to be out at the end of this right-hand dock. I'll check these boats here first. So if you're tied up with this dock, stay where you're at. I'll jump over and I'll just do the live well checks here instead of doing the drive-by like we normally do. I can pretty much get them pretty quick. So if you guys just go back to your boat, pop your live wells open, I'll just kind of make the rotation before we actually go out of the marina here. So I should be able to check everybody off pretty easy that way. We went through the blast off numbers. Off limits. So basically most of the tournaments that I fish, a little bit different on this one because there's no gas dock to worry about. Basically it's just anything that's posted, no trespassing or no fishing. So I don't know of any other off limits that I need to make aware of out there. Does anybody have any off limits that you're questioning about that you want to call out? If for any reason you're out on the water and you have a question on off limits, you can always contact me through my cell. But yeah.
Is it the 101 bridge and the outlet? Is that the cutoff?
Basically, I'm just calling it out as far as you can go. Yeah, if there's I'll have to kind of take a look at that one. The water level is high enough to where you can get pretty far. I had a question yesterday about whether or not you can weigh in fish out of the ocean. And obviously, that's going to be one of those that I'd like to see. So, I mean, if you want to bring it in, bring it to the scales. Yeah. Safety. So, obviously, this time of year, we had an issue with the frostbite with somebody in the water, and I want to make sure we call that out. So I'm glad that you ended up okay. That was a crazy situation. So just make sure that when your big motor's running, you've got your life jackets on. If anything does come up, we do have banners that are necessary today. So if you need a tournament banner, let me know. I've got a few of them extra. But if you are out on the water and something happens, flip that tournament banner over to the orange side of it so that way somebody knows that you need help. You can also give me a call. Everybody should have my cell phone number. If you don't have my cell phone number, especially if you're a boater, make sure that you check with me before we blast off this morning so I can give it to you. So I don't have a boat here, so I'm going to rely on each one of you. If something happens on the water, I'm going to be contacting some people, and I'll be working with Rich and Lori here, obviously, if there's anything that's a major issue to get the necessary help here to be able to go through it. But I want everybody to be safe, so communication between the teams and me. So I want to make sure that if for some reason you guys leave early and you don't weigh in, it happens. I mean, there's times where there's boat issues or whatever. Just make sure that you contact me so that I can check you off. Because I don't want at the end of the day somebody to have left. I'm thinking that they're still out there on the water. So just want to make sure that that's all safe and everybody gets home this evening. We went through the partner exchange. 3 o'clock weigh-in, so we'll do the 3 o'clock weigh-in. I'll actually move my truck right up to the other side of the barbecue here, kind of next to that white truck. I'll have my awning out the back so we can pretty much do everything right off of that first dock there. If you're parked over on this other dock, you just have to walk over by the barbecue area. So it should be pretty easy to spot me. 3 o'clock, and then we'll do the awards pretty quick right after that. So I would like to have everybody stick around for the awards, obviously knowing that some people want to hit the road and get done. But I do try to do our awards pretty quick after we do weigh-in. So it is nice if we have a little bit of a crowd together to congratulate the anglers, and also doing video and everything. It helps us just to be able to have a few more people in the background. So other than that, any questions? No. Everybody just wants to get out and get fishing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a morning prayer and then our national anthem. Yeah. So, okay, I'll swap it. Yeah, I thought Kevin had said that. Kevin and Kevin, it's hard to keep track. So yeah, I'll swap it, but it doesn't matter. At 11:30, you guys get a chance to swap anyway. I think it's going to 503 550 1852. In fact, actually, that's another good one that I need to bring up. So, this tournament, guys, there is no 12-inch minimum. You can weigh in any size fish.
But it has to be a bass, yeah?
Yes, it has to be a bass. No stripers, no ocean fish, but at the same time, you are allowed to be able to bring any size fish in this one. So in our team league, obviously this one we're paying out 3 spots. More than likely you're probably going to need to have bigger fish than 12 inches anyways, but we're going to go ahead and allow that to work, and it'll be the same thing for bass battles in 2 weeks as well. So, good question. Any other questions before I go ahead and do the morning prayer and the national anthem? Okay, you guys go ahead and remove your hats. All right, dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you today for all the anglers that are out here participating, and we just ask for the safety and the blessings for everybody to be able to get through this day and be able to get home safe to their families. We thank you for being able to allow us to enjoy the sport that we love and be able to celebrate the things that you've created, Lord. And we just love you and thank you for all these things. In your name, amen. All right, thank you guys. Before you keep, I need to jump real quick with you guys.
I'll grab the water line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll just grab that myself real quick. I need to jump on one of your boats. You're going out last before you go first. Thank you, sir.
Good luck. What about, we're trying to see what we got for last time I was waiting.
Oh, okay. Keith Pruitt is going out first, boat 7. Then it'll be either Ron or Michael. You guys are team 1, so you choose between you and Jay who's going to be able to go out first. But basically we'll go 7, 8, then 1 through 6, and then we'll go 7 backwards.
Like third.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll find out Jay one.
Yeah, so just remember your team 1.
All right.
And then what?